Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Tuesday evening class on Nectar of Instruction. Om Ajnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Mukam karoti vachalam Pangum langhayate girim Yat kripatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinim Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyeshwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaitya Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So last time we were discussing Nectar of Instruction, text number 9. And the text number 9 was talking about the hierarchy of spiritual world. Right, in the spiritual world, there are many different abodes. The spiritual world is known as Vaikuntha Dham. But in the spiritual world also, there is hierarchy. Beyond Vaikuntha is Mathura. Beyond Mathura is Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan, the higher is Govardhan Dham. And in Govardhan, at the foot of Govardhan, there is Radhakund, which is the topmost of all the holy places, because it's filled with the nectar of the love of Lord Krishna and Radha Rani. So that was the verse we discussed last time. Today's verse is also on the same lines, Nectar of Instruction, text number 10. So today's verse will talk about hierarchy of various devotees. Hierarchy going from materialistic people to Vikarmi to Karmi to Karmakandi to Jnani to Bhakta, and in the Bhaktas, who is topmost? So it comes again to Radha Rani, that Radha Rani, she is the topmost of all the devotees, and her Kunda, Radhakund, is also very dear to Krishna. And who is that person who will not like to reside at Radhakund and serve there? Ankita Mataji, you have any question to begin with?
Sorry, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Dhamma Pranam, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, when I was reading the text here, I got completely confused here. It's like when they're comparing the spiritual Vaikuntha with the material Mathura or with the spiritual Mathura.
So it's talking about actually the material world. In the material world, Mathura, where Krishna appeared. Because devotees can directly access Krishna there. That's why it says Mathura is more dear to devotees than Vaikuntha.
Okay, Ji Prabhuji, I understood, Prabhuji. I thought we were discussing about all in the spiritual world.
Right, so in the spiritual world also that hierarchy is there, but here it's talking within material world also, because devotee can directly go to these holy places within this material world and they can connect with Krishna.
Okay, Prabhuji. Yes, thank you so much.
Okay, Hare Krishna. So let's read this text number 10. कर्मिभ्यः परितो हरे प्रियात्या व्यक्तिं ययुर्ज्ञानिनास् तेभ्यो ज्ञान विमुक्त भक्ति परमा प्रेमिका निष्ठास्तथा तेभ्यस्तः पशुपाल पंकज दृशास्तभयो अपि सराधिका प्रेष्ठा तद्वद् इयं तदीया सरसितं नाश्रयेत् कः कृति. Translation. In the Shastra, it is said that all type of fruity workers He who is advanced in knowledge of higher values of life is favored by Supreme Lord Hari. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, Gyanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. He is superior to others. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowherd boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radha Rani is the most dear to Krishna. Her kunda is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of the gopis. Who then will not reside at Radhakund and in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feeling? Aprakarta Bhava, render loving service to the divine couple Shri Shri Radha Govinda, who performs their Ashtakalya Leela, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radhakund are the most fortunate people in the universe. So if this verse we look carefully, it goes on the hierarchy of different people, starting from fruity workers, the karmi. Then better than karmi is one who is in knowledge, basically the Gyanis. And among the Gyanis, better is who is liberated by virtue of his knowledge and ultimately he takes to devotional service, come to the level of bhakti. Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. Right? So one who is in real knowledge, ultimately they take to the process of devotional service. So among those who have taken to devotional service, the superior is one who has actually attained prema. मनुष्यानां सहस्रेषु कश्चित् यतति सिद्धये यतताम अपि सिद्धानां कश्चित् मम वेति तत्वतः. So among the people who are engaged in devotional service, among those also thousands and thousands, one who really come to that platform of really understanding Krishna, who attains prema, love of God. And among them, the gopis are exalted above all these advanced devotees because they are totally dependent on Krishna. And among these gopis, Srimati Radha Rani is most dear to Krishna. So she is the topmost. And her kunda is as profoundly dear to Krishna. So that is the hierarchy which is mentioned here. Now let's start from where Krishna is starting, or Rupa Goswami is describing in this verse. So Rupa Goswami, actually, if we see, he starts from karmis, right? That karmis who are engaged in materialistic activities. But Prabhupada in the purport, Prabhupada starts from vikarmi, one more step down, because even lower than karmis are vikarmis. What is the difference in karmis and vikarmis? Anybody?
Prabhu, those are doing Shastra Viruddha Kam. Their actions.
So karmi and vikarmi, both are materialistic. They both want sense enjoyment. The difference is vikarmi, they do not follow any instruction of Shastras. They don't believe in Shastra. They don't abide by Shastra. They don't believe in God. All they want is their own personal sense enjoyment. They will say, oh, these scriptures and all, these are putting restrictions, right? But they don't understand, actually, these scriptures, they are not putting restriction. They are keeping us in discipline. There is a difference in restriction and discipline. Discipline is for our betterment. So these materialistic people, vikarmis, they don't even abide by the scriptures. They work against the direction of scriptures. Whereas karmi, they are also materialistic people, but at least they have faith in scripture. They have faith in God. They believe in more of karma kanda principle. So that is vikarmi and karmi, basically nastik and astik. Right? So nastik, he has no faith in God and they just whimsically act. Astik, he has faith in God and he believes in God. He pray to God for his own sense enjoyment. So he also wants sense enjoyment, but he approach God to help him with his sense enjoyment. That is the difference. So that's why Prabhupada is starting from vikarmi. that these vikarmis, they act whimsically. They may gain some benefit in this material world because of their hard struggle. They ultimately they have to continue in the cycle of birth and death. They may take to the lower species of life. They can become animals and trees also. So in that way, these vikarmis have no scope in one sense. And then higher than that is karmi. So let's read through this one here. If you can see my slide. Oops. Okay, so on this planet we find many businessmen, politicians, and other who are simply interested in material happiness. They attempt to earn money by all means, not considering whether such means are pious or impious. Such people are called karmi or gross materialists. Among the karmis are some vikarmis, people who act without the guidance of Vedic knowledge. So they want to just act without any instruction, without any guidance. Those who act on the basis of Vedic knowledge perform sacrifice for satisfaction of Lord Vishnu and to receive benediction from him. In this way, they are elevated to higher planetary system. Such karmis are superior to the vikarmis, for they are faithful to the direction of Vedas and are certainly dear to Krishna. So even though they are also working for their own sense enjoyment, but at least they're following the Vedic direction. They perform some sacrifice, they do some offerings to the demigods. So in that way, at least they are dear to Krishna. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Ye yatha mam prapadyante tams tathai bhajamyaham. In whatever way one surrenders unto me, I reward them accordingly. So Krishna is so kind that he fulfills the desire of karmis and jnanis also. Then what to speak of bhaktas? If one act piously, he can attain a new body among the demigods in the higher planetary system. Or he may attain some other position in which he can enjoy a higher standard of material happiness. On the other hand, those who are engaged in impious activities are degraded and take birth as animals, trees, and other lower species. So that is the situation of karmis, right? They may be very hardworking. We see people around us, they work so hard. Some people, they also, we say get up early in the morning. When one should get up early in the morning. So there are very many other materialistic people also, they also get up very early in the morning. But for what purpose? They are not getting up early in the morning to do any sadhana, right? Chant the holy name. They are getting up early, get ready, and get to their work. So all their consciousness is just work, work, work. So they may attain some material benefits, but ultimately they will continue in this material world. If they are acting piously, they may go to the heavenly planets. They may go to the higher planets, Swargaloka, and enjoy there. If somebody is acting impiously within this material world or within on this earth, they may take birth as lower species, animals, trees, creepers, and they may go to the lower planets also, to the hellish planets, to suffer for their bad work, bad karma. So that is the situation of these materialistic people. Now, in among these materialistic people also, those who do not care for the Vedic directions, those are vikarmis. They are not appreciated by the saintly person. In Bhagavatam, Bhagavatam describes that materialists who work hard like dogs and hogs simply for sense gratification, they are actually mad. They simply perform all kind of abominable activities for their own sense gratification. So materialistic activities, actually, they are not worthy of an intelligent man, because such activity, one will get a material body which is full of misery, full of suffering. They may make many plans to become happy in this material world. They may live for a certain number of years, out of which they spend most of their time acquiring money for sense gratification, acquiring some position in this world. But ultimately, everybody has to meet death at the end. Then they do not consider where they are going after death, right? What condition they will attain. And all their activities simply defeat the purpose of life. Not only they're born ignorant, but they act on the platform of ignorance and thinking that they're getting material benefit in the form of these big buildings, skyscrapers, getting big cars, honorable positions. But ultimately, all their endeavor, they are defeated. All their achievements are failed because one has to continue in this cycle of birth and death. So one should understand that why somebody is working. We need to understand the purpose of life. Our purpose should be to fulfill the needs, but not going to the level of greed. For example, the carpenter, right? He is hired by a person. He is supplied with all the wood and all the other ingredients. So he may make the table, chair, bed, and all other things, and he takes his salary in return. But if the carpenter start thinking, oh no, everything belongs to me, I am the owner of all this because I built this, so then that leads to the level of greed. If when he start thinking, oh, everything is mine. So same way, if one spends most of the time in accumulating a lot and not using it, ultimately he ends up losing everything. One will be dead and gone. So that's why all the scripture, they tell us that we need to simplify our life. Don't try to over accumulate. But at the present moment, almost everyone is engaged. All the materialistic people, karmis, they're engaged in some kind of fruitive activity, some kind of accumulation. Those who are desiring of gaining material profits, they are called karmis, right? They are called the fruity workers. So there is a very beautiful story actually in one Greek story. There was a person, Sripnus. He was a prisoner, and he was given this punishment that he has to raise a big boulder, a stone, up the mountain. So he has to roll the boulder up the mountain, and when he reaches on the top, then he has to leave it, and the boulder rolls back again to zero, right? He comes back again and at the foot of the mountain. So all day long he is working hard to roll up this mountain up, and then he has to drop it from the top, seeing it coming down again. And he is supervised by all these soldiers also. So when he reaches at the top and he has to drop this boulder, he's complaining why this whole hard work is needed when this stone has to be again dropped down. What a waste of time and what a waste of energy. But that was his punishment, that he has to do that. So our current life of accumulation, right? One works so hard to move oneself up, right? One want to rise in this world. And then what is the death? The death is again, everything comes back to zero. Like the stone which is taken up and then dropped back to come down. So that is a situation of people in this world also. They work so hard all life to raise high in this world. And again, at the death, everything is a new beginning. So they do not consider what is going to happen when they give up the body. Are they going to become animal, plant, tree? What creature they will become? So they defeat the whole purpose of life. That's why the karmis, the lowest level is vikarmi, and then karmi, and above karmi is jnani. Why jnani? is better because at least they understand what is the purpose of life, what is the goal of life. Aham Brahmasmi. They come to the level of at least understanding that, okay, I am also the spirit soul. I am not the body, I am the soul. They may not have developed that love for Krishna yet. They have not developed the attitude of serving Krishna yet, but they understand that we are not this material body at least. So they are better. As I quoted this verse from Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says, Bahunam janmanam ante jnanavan mam prapadyate. After many, many lifetimes, one who is in knowledge, Vasudeva Sarvam iti, that Vasudeva is everything, Samahatma Sudurlabha, that soul is very rare. So that person is very dear to Krishna. So Gyanis, when they reach to the level of higher knowledge to understand, yes, Krishna is everything. Because what happens when somebody is in knowledge, their knowledge is more, they are more interested to the knowledge of Upanishads, the Vedas, which talk about many impersonal aspect of the Lord. And these Gyanis, they get stuck up at the impersonal level. Yes, they understand that there is some supreme being, but they do not have the knowledge of the personal feature of the personality of Godhead. They think either God is impersonal. There are very great scholars, right? They have read the Upanishads, Vedas, but still they do not accept the personal form of the Lord. When Ramanujacharya as a young child, when he went to his first teacher, first guru, he was a great learned scholar, but he was impersonalist. He did not accept the form of the Lord. He will be joking about the personal features of the Lord. And Ramanujacharya was very pained at heart when he will hear these statements of his guru. There is another very beautiful Puranic story actually on the same line, how somebody who is impersonalist, he has faith in God but does not accept the personal form of the Lord. So once there was a boy named Manikarna. So he was born to a very poor woman in a village. And this woman is a great devotee of the Lord. She has such a staunch faith in the Lord. So this boy, Manikarn, he goes to one teacher in his village to study. And after a few years of study in his village, now his guru says, now for higher education, right? For continuing your education, you have to go to a different teacher who lives on the other side of the village. From the kind of, one has to cross that forest in between and go to the other village to study. So this person, this child, Manikarn, he goes to the other guru. He has to cross this forest and he is very afraid, very scared of going through this forest. So he comes to his mother and tells, no, I don't want to go to this new teacher, new Gurukul. I have to cross this forest and I'm very afraid of that. So his mother said, why you have to be afraid? Actually, don't become afraid. There is your elder brother always there to help you, to guide you. He said, my elder brother? Who is my elder brother? I had never heard of this. So she said, no, you have an elder brother. His name is Gopal. He wears yellow clothes. He has a curly locks of hairs. He is wearing a flower garland. He plays on the flute. So anytime you have any fear, call out to Gopal and he will be always there to help you. So don't be afraid. So this child becomes very happy and he is, whenever he is going through that forest, he will call out to Gopal and he always feels that, yes, my brother is there to protect me, to guard me, and in that way he loses his fear. So he continues going to the other guru. Now one day there was Guru Purnima occasion and the guru told all the children to bring some offerings from their home, to bring something. Now this child Manikan, he was very poor. His mother was very poor. They did not had anything at home. So he was not able to get anything from home, and his mother was sick that time. So he did not ask his mother, please give me something to take for Guru, to the Gurukul. And then he remembered his brother. Oh, my brother Gopal is there. Let me call out to my brother. He will help me. He will give me something. So he called out, my dear brother Gopal, please help me. I need something to take to the Guru. And Gopal came, just p- pleased by the calling, with love by this small child. And he gave him one small pot of rabdi, right? That condensed milk. So this child took that small pot of condensed milk to his Guru. And the Guru took that pot and he kind of put it inside, or dumped it inside a big bucket. And to his surprise, this small pot, having this little rabdi in that small pot, when he put inside that big pot, that whole big pot got filled. And this small pot was also still full. And then he tried to dump it inside another big pot. That big pot also got filled. So this teacher, his Guru, was very surprised. Oh, from where did you get this pot? This child said, Manikan said, oh, I got it from my brother, Gopal. He said, your brother? I have never heard of your brother, that you have a brother also. So who is this brother? So then he explained, yes, I have a brother. His name is Gopal. And he, whenever I call him, he comes to help me. He wears yellow garments. He plays on a flute. He is blackish complexion. He's very beautiful. And the teacher became very surprised. He had heard these description, these personal features of the Lord in scripture, but he had no faith in that. Yes, he was very learned in the scripture, but he had no faith in the personal form of the Lord. So he said, oh, your brother Gopal, can you call him again? I would like to also see him. So he said, he resides in the forest. Whenever I pass through the forest, I call him. So if you want to see him, you come with me to the forest. So teacher said, okay, I will come, but you call your brother Gopal, I will hide behind a tree and I will see him. Child said, why you don't need to hide behind the tree. You can come in front of me. Teacher said, no, don't worry. You just call out to him. Don't tell him that my Guru wanted to see him. That's why I'm calling. I will just hide behind the tree and see him. So this child, he started calling out. He started singing the name Gopal, Gopal, Gopal. So he continued calling out, calling out. This time Gopal is not appearing. And the child is also very puzzled. Why Gopal is not appearing this time? Whenever I call, he immediately comes. So he continued calling. Gopal did not appear, but after some time, the voice was heard. Said, every time you call me out of love, I immediately come. But today there is one person who do not believe in me, who do not believe in my form. So that's why I am not appearing in front of him. So the Guru, hiding behind the tree, was able to hear this voice. And just hearing this voice, he was filled with ecstasy that finally, actually, I am able to hear the voice of the Lord. And because of this small child who has such a staunch faith in the Lord in his personal form, I am also able to get his darshan in the form of his Vani. So then that Guru, he also became a devotee of the Lord, believing in the personal form of the Lord. So what this story indicates is, yes, sometimes people may be at the level of jnana, at the level of knowledge, but still they may not have full faith in the Lord. So better than jnani is somebody who accepts the path of devotional service. Those people are more dear to Krishna. Now, moving forward here, Krishna is, Rupa Goswami is describing that the devotees, they perform devotional service by following the particular rules and regulation, by under what we call as sadhana bhakti or Vaidhi bhakti. Vaidhi bhakti means vidhi, following proper vidhi, following proper rules and regulation. And by following this Vaidhi bhakti, one ultimately develops pure love for Krishna. So there are so many devotees in that way. Narada, Sanaka Sanatan, Prahlad Maharaj, and all that. So many devotees are there. So that's why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, these devotees are rare. Manushyanam sahasreshu kaschit yatati siddhaye. Yatatam api siddhanam kaschin mambeti tatvatah. One rarely knows me in tattva. So these devotees are very rare who develop love for God. Those are the highest, like the gopis. So gopis, why they are most dear, why they are considered as the highest? Because they are free from any bodily concept. They only know that satisfying Krishna is the only business. So they only want to satisfy Krishna and nothing in return from Krishna. They cannot even forget Krishna. See, earlier the devotees' love for Krishna, that is hidden. They don't express it outwardly. They don't express it like openly. When Krishna will go to herd the cows in the morning, so gopis are there. They are also thinking that Krishna will go all day. They will not be able to see him. They come outside the palace of Nanda Maharaj and they try to see Krishna, but they don't come openly in front of Krishna because everybody will see. But finally, when Akrura comes to take Krishna, right, and that time when Krishna is ready to ride on the chariot and live with Akrura to Mathura, at that time gopis, all these gopis who are like in Kishoravastha, they are 10, 12 of years of age, so they all come and they try to stop Krishna. They reveal their heart openly at that time. So some gopis are holding the reins of the horses, some are holding the wheels of the chariot, some are trying to hold the hands of Krishna, that why are you leaving? Some even lay down on the floor, on the ground in front of the horses, that you cannot leave. And at that time the gopis, they are telling Akrura that your name is Akrura, but really you are Krura, right? You are very cruel hearted, that you want to take Krishna away from us. So at that time the gopis, they openly express their heart. See, earlier when Krishna performed Rasa dance, that was also at the kind of midnight when gopis called out to the gopis. Krishna called out to the gopis. At that time also, when Krishna played on his flute and all the gopis came there, Krishna told, why you have come here, leaving all your family members, leaving your children, husbands, father, mother, your houses? And the gopis said, we have left everything. We have उनको छोड़कर नहीं आए, उनको त्याग कर आए हैं. We haven't just given up, we have renounced everything. Samtyajya. So we have given up everything. तो हमारा वो घाट ही डूब गया, right? There is nothing left, so there is no place for us to go back. And why you are rejecting us now? So gopis completely depend on Krishna. They have full faith and love for Krishna. Even Krishna cannot forget the gopis. Even though Krishna went to Mathura, Krishna had to leave the gopis, but it doesn't mean Krishna has rejected the gopis. Krishna is telling Uddhava that I'm not able to forget Vrindavan. I'm not able to forget the inhabitants of Vrindavan. I'm not able to forget the gopis, their love, because they renounced everything for me. So that's why gopis are considered highest, because they have no other consideration than Krishna's pleasure. And most exalted of all these devotees, that is the mood of separation, because these gopis have the mood of separation, Vipralamba Bhava. It's called Vipralamba, serving in the mood of separation, looking, kind of taking anxiety for Krishna. It gives more and more longing for Krishna, which develop more love for Krishna. So in that way, the gopis are considered as the highest. And among highest of all is Radha Rani. She is considered as the highest of all gopis. Cannot be excelled by anyone, because her consciousness is just to think of Krishna, nothing else. Nobody's love can match with her love. And we, in the last discussion also, verse number 9, we were talking about this point. The gopis are the highest of all, and the Gopi Geet, which was sung by the gopis in separation of Krishna, how they are searching for Krishna and they are imitating the different pastimes of Krishna. One gopi becomes as a table and somebody climbs up onto that as if they are stealing butter, right? They are pretending or imitating that pastime of Krishna as Krishna steals the butter and then they feed the butter to everybody. And then somebody dancing on the hoods of Kalia, they are pretending that, imitating that pastime. So some pastime of Krishna killing that Bakasura, pastime of Krishna killing Aghasura. So they imitate, they remember all those pastimes. So that is called remembering Krishna's Leela. So let me share my screen again. I have put together a couple of slides. And so Gopis' love is superior to all. Why? Because gopis, they always want to satisfy Krishna. They never expect anything from Krishna. Even when put in extreme suffering, they cannot forget Krishna. And they cannot forget Krishna even when he left them. So in the same Rasa Leela pastime, when Krishna disappeared in front of them and all the gopis were searching for them. As all the gopis are going, actually Lord Vishnu appears in front of them in four-handed form. So the gopis, they see Lord Vishnu. They are not thinking, oh, Lord Vishnu is standing in front of us. They are so much in love with Krishna. They're searching for Krishna. They approach Lord Vishnu and ask him, have you seen Krishna? Can you tell us where Krishna has gone? So all the gopis move forward and Radha Rani comes in front of Lord Vishnu and she also asks, have you seen my Krishna? And because of the love of Radha Rani, the two hands of Lord Vishnu disappear and he immediately appear in front of her in the form of Krishna. So that is the love of Radha Rani. They cannot forget Krishna and they don't want anybody else. They just want Krishna. So that's why it says Leela Smaranam. More than Krishna meeting personally, the discussion about Krishna's pastime in separation, they are relished by them. So all these gopis were always remembering the pastimes of Krishna and imitating the pastime of Krishna. And Krishna also, what does Krishna say? Vrindavan parityajya padam ekam nagachati. So Krishna never goes even a step from Vrindavan. Then how did he live with the Akrura? So it says he stayed, even though in one sense he left Vrindavan to go in Mathura, that is Vasudeva Krishna. But Nandanandan Krishna, he always stays back in Vrindavan in his Bhava form. So Jiva Goswami says in this way, we have to live our lives in material world by always remembering the pastimes of Krishna, Leela Smaranam. And if we always wait for Krishna, so there are two words used actually. One is expectation and one is wait. एक तो है हम भगवान के पास आशा लेकर जाते हैं और दूसरा है भगवान की प्रतीक्षा करना. So don't have expectation from the Lord, but only have wait for the Lord. As the gopis are always waiting and waiting when Krishna will return back. When will Krishna come back from Mathura? So they are remembering Krishna's leelas and always waiting. If we are waiting like this in a mood of sacrifice to please Krishna, in separation from him, then we are sure to go back to Godhead. And here it describes that how Radharani is most glorious of all. When Radharani saw Krishna finally in Kurukshetra, they saw Krishna as a king, right, in the form of a king, in the dress of a king. So they were not very happy to see him in that form because they always wanted to see Krishna as their Gopa boy, as a cowherd boy. They wanted Krishna back in Vrindavan. So at that time, Radharani said this very famous verse, Ay Deen Dayardra Nath He Mathura Nath Kadavya Lokyas Hridayam tvad alokakatram daita brahmyati kim karomi aham. O my Lord, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Because of my not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? This is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. So Radharani is describing there, they are not happy seeing Krishna in the princely dress. They want Krishna as their Gopa boy. They want to see him in that form. And Radharani is most dear to Krishna here. Prabhupada is writing in the purport. Rupa Goswami is concluding that Radharani is the most exalted of the devotees. And her Kunda, Radhakund, is the most exalted of all the holy places. So this is verified in a quote from Laghu Bhagavatamrita, which is quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yatha Radha Priyas Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tatha Sarva Gopishu Sevika Vishnur Atyanta Vallabha. Just as Srimati Radharani is dear to the Supreme Lord Krishna, so her bathing place, Radhakund, is equally dear to Krishna. Among all the gopis, she alone stands supreme as the Lord's most beloved. So this verse in essence talk about the hierarchy of all the devotees. Once I spoke about one story, how Sanatan Goswami is writing in Brihad Bhagavatamrita to come to the point that how Radharani is the supreme of all devotees. So he writes in the form of a story. Once Narada Muni, he comes, he is searching for the most exalted devotee. And so he approached Indra, that, oh Indra, you are the great devotee of the Lord. Actually, first he approached one Brahmana. This Brahmana is doing, as Narada Muni is searching one great devotee, he approached one Brahmana who was worshipping his Shaligram Shila. He is worshipping the Shaligram Shila very meticulously, offering chandan and all flower, incense, everything, offering the Nevedya. So Narada Muni approached this Brahmana, you are serving this Shaligram so wonderfully, you are a great devotee. This Brahmana said, actually, I am not the great devotee. There is a king in this South India who worships hundreds of Shaligram Shilas every day. Actually, I worship only on some particular occasion, on a festival day. He worshipped so many Shaligram Shilas every day, and he engages all his citizen in devotional service. So he is great devotee. So Narad Muni approached this king and tells him, you are such a wonderful devotee. You are worshipping the Shaligram Shilas daily and engaging everybody. He said, actually, I am just the king of a small city and I'm trying to serve the Lord little bit to my capacity. But look at Indra, who is serving the Lord in such a grand way, right? He is helping in managing the affairs of this material world. So he is the great devotee. So Narad Muni approaches Indra. Indra, you are such a great devotee of the Lord. You are running the business of this material world, serving the purpose of the Lord. And Indra said, I am a great devotee. Says who? Actually, I am such a sinful person. I have offended the Lord so many times. Open the pages of Bhagavatam, all my glories are listed there. How many times I have done such a big blunder. In the Yagya of Prithu Maharaj, when he is doing this Ashwamedh Yagya, I was trying to steal the horse when he was about to perform his 100th Ashwamedh Yagya. So what kind of a devotee I am who is putting an obstacle in the performance of sacrifice for the Lord? And then I am the one who killed try to fight with such a great devotee of the Lord, this Bhrattasura, and I killed him. And I had to accept the sin of killing a Brahmana. And then look at the Krishna Leela itself. When Krishna was performing his Leela, I tried to destroy all the Brajabasis. I wanted to harm Krishna himself. So I had a torrential rain to flood the whole Vrindavan. Right? At that time when Krishna lifted Govardhan, I was trying to blow off this Govardhan with my thunderbolt, striking of the thunderbolt. So I have offended the Lord so many times. How can I be a devotee? I don't consider myself even a devotee. So better than me is actually Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is praising the Lord by his four mouths. He is always chanting the holy name. So he is great. So Narada Muni goes to his own father, Brahma, his own father and his own guru. And he says, my dear father, I heard you are the greatest of all devotees. Brahma said, I am great devotee. Actually, I also offended the Lord. I wanted to test the Lord. When Lord was having picnic in the forest, I stole away all the calves. And when Krishna went searching for the calves in the back, I stole all the cowherd boys also. I wanted to test the Lords. I separated the devotees of the Lord from the Lord. So in my case, I am even a bigger offender. I separated the devotees from the Lord. Indra is better than me. At least whatever blunder he did in that Leela, he united all the devotees with the Lord. Lord Krishna lifted Govardhan, and at that time, all the devotees were constantly in association with the Lord. So Indra is better than me. Narad said, okay, I already went to Indra and he has sent me to you. I'm not going back to Indra. So tell me, is there anybody else who can be considered better? Then he said, actually, Lord Shiva is better. He is great devotee. Ashutosh, he is Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. He is greatest among all the Vaishnavas. So Narad Muni comes to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva, you are the greatest of all. You are Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. And Lord Shiva said, actually, I am also not a devotee. See, devotee is one who serves the Lord, who try to fulfill the purpose of the Lord, who can serve the devotees. In my case, I am not serving the Lord. I am known as Muktinath, right? People come to Kashi and I try to give them mukti. Devotees say, we don't want anything. They are not seeking for mukti. And I try to give them mukti. So I'm not even serving the devotees, fulfilling their desire. What kind of devotee I am? Better than me is actually Prahlad Maharaj. Prahlad Maharaj is such a great devotee that Lord appeared for him, in front of him to protect him. So Narada goes to Prahlad and tells Prahlad. Now earlier Narada had went to Brahma, his own guru. Now Narada is approaching his disciple. And he tells, so Prahlad, I heard you are the greatest of all the devotees. Prahlad said, Gurudev, I am not a wonderful great devotee. Actually, I don't even know how to serve the Lord. The Lord appeared in front of me from the pillar. Lord had to appear for me. And I did not know how to receive the Lord. I did not even offer a seat to the Lord to sit down. He had to remove my father from his seat and he took that seat. And then I did not even offer a garland to the Lord. So Lord ripped out the intestines of my father and put that as a garland. I did not even offer water to the Lord. He had to drink the blood from my father's body. So what kind of a devotee I am who even don't know how to serve the Lord? So I am not a great devotee. Actually, the Pandavas, they are the great devotee. Lord is always in their association. Lord served them as their menial servant actually. Lord acted as the chariot driver for Arjuna and Lord acted as a servant in the yajna of Yudhishthira Maharaj. So they are the great devotee. So Narad Muni comes to the to Pandavas and tell them, I heard you are the greatest of all devotees. And Pandavas say, how can we be the devotees? Actually, if somebody hears our story, this unfortunate story, they will even give up the process of bhakti. अगर भक्त बनने से इतने इतने संकट सहने पड़ेंगे तो we don't want to become a devotee because we had to go through so many of sufferings and Lord was there to protect us. Actually, we use the Lord as our servant. What kind of devotee are we? Better than us actually is Maharaj Ugrasen. Krishna was standing in the assembly of Maharaj Ugrasen, folding hands and asking him, please tell me what can I do for you? He established Ugrasen as the king of Mathura after killing Kamsa and releasing him from the prison. So he is great devotee. And Narada came to Ugrasen Maharaj Ugrasen, you are the great devotee. Krishna is always standing in front of you, folding hands and asking for your order. And Maharaj Ugrasen says, no, actually, better than me, I am not a devotee. Uddhava is a great devotee who is always in association with Krishna. He is the friend of Krishna. He is the minister of Krishna. He is a constant companion of Krishna. Uddhava actually looks like Krishna because he used to play with the dolls of Krishna, and he will use the clothes which has been worn by Krishna. जो कृष्ण ने पहले कपड़े पहन के छोड़ दिए, Uddhava used to wear those clothes, and he looks like Krishna. So Maharaj Ugrasen said Uddhava is the great devotee, and Narada comes to Uddhava. I heard you are the great devotee. Uddhava says, actually, I also thought earlier that I am a very wonderful devotee, but later I realized I am such a fallen person. Actually, when Krishna sent me to Vrindavan to give the message to these gopis, then I realized what really devotion is, what really love for Krishna is. I went to Vrindavan to give this message of Krishna, and I was trying to pacify these gopis, told them, Brahman is everywhere, God is everywhere. Why you are lamenting like that? Give up this lamentation. So I was trying to teach them, but ultimately I got higher knowledge there. So in Vrindavan, I received this knowledge, and then Uddhava was praying, I want to become like a creeper, like a blade of grass in Vrindavan, so that gopis, when they walk on them, the dust from their feet fall on my head. I can receive their feet on my head. So that was the prayer of Uddhava. So Uddhava is telling, I am not the great devotee. Actually, these gopis, they are the great devotees. And highest of among all these gopis is Srimati Radha Rani, who is most dear to Krishna. So here, through this story, what Narada Sanatan Goswami is telling is, he mentioned all these great devotees, and ultimately brings the conclusion to the gopis, and among the gopis, that Radha Rani is the highest of all, and her kunda is also as dear to Krishna. So this previous verse, text number 9 at text number 10, text number 9 was hierarchy of the different places in spiritual world, and text number 10 is hierarchy of all these different people in terms of devotion. And ultimately it comes to the conclusion of Srimati Radharani being the highest of all, and Radhakund being the most exalted places among all. So this whole verse also, there is one summary slide which describes the essence of all this verse. So text number 10, you see, so starts with Vikarmi. What are the Vikarmis? Who act without any Vedic knowledge. They are not appreciated by saintly people because they are going to take birth in lower species as animals, trees, plants. So better than Vikarmis are Karmis. At least they act based on the Vedic knowledge. They are superior to Vikarmis. They can be elevated to the higher planets, to Swargaloka, to moon planet also. But ultimately, they also have to return to Mrityuloka. Shine Punne Mrityulokam Vishanti. Bhagavad Gita says, right, 921. Ultimately, they have to come down. So the example I was giving, rolling up the boulder up the mountain, ultimately the mountain, that boulder is rolled back. So same way, the karmis also, even though they are acting based on the Vedic knowledge, their ultimate goal is sense enjoyment. They can attain higher planets, but ultimately they have to come back. So better than karmis are gyanis. They come to the platform of knowledge, Atma Tattva. We are not the body, we are the spirit soul, Aham Brahmasmi. So they knows that fruitive activities bind. So they are superior to the karmis. But unless they take to devotional service, that is also still in avidya. So better than gyanis are bhaktas. They perform devotional service by following the rules and regulation, Vaidhi Bhakti, and ultimately they can become a pure devotee. They develop pure love of Krishna, like many other devotees mentioned here. And among among all these devotees are the gopis. Their only business is to satisfy Krishna. They do not expect anything in return from Krishna. They cannot forget Krishna. So they are the most exalted of all. Their love for Krishna is in Vipralamba Bhav, mood of separation. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that mood of the gopis, serving Krishna in the mood of separation. So serving Krishna directly, so better than serving directly is serving in separation. So Srila Prabhupada also taught that rather than directly approaching Radha and Krishna, we should approach Krishna through the medium of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So we should approach Gaur and Nitai, and through them we should try to approach Radha and Krishna rather than directly going to Radha Krishna. So worshipping Gaur Nitai is recommended for all the householders than worshipping Radha Krishna directly, because in worship of Radha Krishna there are many higher standards actually, and one can commit many offenses if somebody directly take to the worship of Radha Krishna. And Gaur and Nitai, they are very merciful, they don't take any offenses. So for Radha and Krishna, if somebody is serving the deities, one has to be very careful not to commit any seva aparad. For example, one example given is when we offer the bhoga to the Lord, if somebody is offering to Radha and Krishna, right? So one is supposed to remove the flute of Krishna and then offer the bhoga, and after offering, put the flute back. So if somebody forgets that, that also becomes like an offense. So in that way, serving Radha and Krishna, there are many strict rules and regulation. There are many offenses which could come in doing service. So serving Gaur and Nitai is recommended because they are most merciful. So approaching Radha Krishna through the gopi mood. Among all these gopis, highest is Srimati Radha Rani. So she is the highest of all gopis. Nobody can excel the love of Radha Rani. Even Krishna cannot understand her. So Krishna also comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to understand the love of Radha Rani, to understand the mood of Radha Rani. So Radha Rani's Kund, Radhakund is also as dear to Krishna. That is the most exalted place. So all the serious devotees must take shelter of this Radhakund and execute service there. So that is the essence of kind of summary of this whole verse, text number 10. Shrimati Radha Rani ki jai, Shri Radhakund ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Okay, so thank you very much. I will stop here. If anybody has any question, comment.
Prabhuji, I have a question for you. I
Yes,
have heard some story, confirm it if it's true or not, but the same type of story you were talking about. One time they say that Krishna got sick in Vrinda, in what I call in
Dwarika.
Dwarka. And then Narada Muni comes to him and he
Yes.
cannot get cured. So he says, I'll get cured if some devotee gives me his dust of his feet.
Yes.
But the condition is, if they get it and give it to me, they will have to live in hell for a long time. So he says, go and find some devotees who can do that. So, well, Narad starts and goes to the queen. He says, no, Krishna is supposed to be worshipped by us. We don't want to go and do that. So they cannot get it anyplace else. All the people in Dwarka do not give him. Then he says, Krishna says, you go to Vrindavan and you will find somebody. And there everybody is willing to give him that. He says, we are sinners. We don't care. If we have to get sick and go to hell for a while, we will go there. And but let Krishna enjoy and do that. And then he brings that dust to him. And then Krishna says, now you know what the real love is. They are even willing to go to hell for me. And Narad, you could have done the same thing if you had such a love. But you don't have that love. No, the queen do not love that much. But these people who are they are the poor and not very educated, but their love is beyond anybody else. And that's why in India, I think I went to Gujarat and there was a Gopi Talao where some gopis went to see him, and then they didn't want to live without Krishna, so they died there, and that's what they call Gopi Chandan. This is the story I heard. I don't know how true it is, but Hare Krishna.
So yes, that is another story which is mentioned to prove the supremacy of all the gopis, that the Krishna's headache, to cure for Krishna's headache, Krishna said, bring me the dust of any devotee's feet, that will cure my headache. So Narada goes everywhere, and ultimately the gopis are the one who says, take as much as you want, we are ready to suffer for in the hell also for this, but all we want is Krishna's pleasure, right? So their only desire is to please Krishna, to serve Krishna without any other expectation.
Story, but that's true that love is, they have no expectation, they're willing to suffer anything for them. That's very great love, that Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Vijay Prabhu.
Prabhuji, two things I had in my mind when you were saying about karmis, there was, I think, one real story wherein one of the person for his wife, she was in the other side of the village, and there was a mountain which was obstructing, and he, all through his life, he was involved in making, building a road across the mountain. And after some 20, 30 or 40 years, he could really cut open the mountain and build a road. So just imagining that, if a person, by looking at a mountain, it's so difficult that, can we just imagine a person really building across? But there are such karmis also, like, or are single-mindedly able to do this. And so this was there. I think I had read this somewhere.
Right. So people work so hard. That is the mode of passion, right? Passion to achieve something in this world, either in terms of money, possessions, position, power. So all these things, people work so hard to achieve all those things by considering or without considering any Vedic principles.
But here, Prabhuji, he was not having any sort of an intention to just earn money or something. He just wanted to
please
build
somebody.
Please somebody. It's just to please
Please
somebody.
Yeah. So that is also people do so many things on the name of social service, right? They think, oh, we are trying to serve other people, trying to help other people. So, or if we do this thing, it will serve others, help others. So that also, so that is pious activity. Let's say people build roads, people build wells, people build schools, hospitals, all those. So those are pious activities. So by the result of pious activity, one will get some benefit in this life or in the next life, but ultimately one has to continue within this material world. So that's why it says karmis, right, who are not at least they are not breaking the principle of scriptures. So they may elevate to the higher planets. They may go to Swarga, but ultimately Kshine Punye Mrityu Lokam Vishanti. They have to come back to the lower planets when their pious credit is over. And again, life starts from zero.
The Radhakund, Prabhuji, I think, there are, down the Kund, there is that whatever is there, that is in the form of a chandan. That only is being used for making the chandan. So
yes,
just confirm, it is the same thing, being sold
right.
as
So
a form of chandan.
the clay basically at the bottom, the bottom layer at the kunda, that is what is extracted, which is used as gopi chandan. Okay, any other question or comment? Okay, if not, I think we are done for today. So we have one more verse left for Nectar of Instruction, the last verse, text number 11. So then we'll complete this Nectar of Instruction in the next week. And then we will start Bhagavad Gita when we